Welcome to another inspiring episode of HospeTalk. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Nitin Marriya, currently the General Manager at Méridien, Nagpur. He is a distinguished leader with over 19 years of experience in hospitality. Mr. Nitin has led multiple high-profile properties under Marriott International, including the Sheraton Grand Bengaluru and Aloft Hotels. His expertise spans across team management, strategic financial planning, and guest satisfaction, making him a true asset in the industry. Get ready to dive into his journey of leadership, problem solving, and delivering excellence. Hello Nitin, welcome to the show, welcome to HospeTalk. First thing first, thank you so much. I understand कि busy operations होते हैं, yet you managed to take us, give your valuable time. So thank you so much. To kickstart the interview, tell us about your journey. How did it started?
Thank you, Vikas, for dropping by at my hotel here this afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity. It's a long journey, so to say. I've now been in the industry, blessed to have been in this industry for 20 plus years.
Wonderful.
The journey started in Bangalore, where I did my hotel school, post which I went on to work in the city of dreams, Mumbai. 2002 is when I started working in Mumbai for a luxury hotel, and that is exactly where my dream to be a hotelier started, so to say, and haven't really looked back since then. Have been at it since 02. So it has been an exciting journey, I can tell you that much. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. According to you, what does it take to get succeed in our industry?
So, we learn from our seniors in the industry, and there is a very famous quote that we use or rather that we learn from today, where I am, is that success is not final. What we do every day is a definition of success. Success is made up of, I would say, small pitfalls at times. Success is made up of immense learning. Success is made up of, I would say, little sacrifices along the way. But I think to be able to find success, one must look for it. It does not come, I would say, it does not come readily available in a package. It doesn't get delivered to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so one has to keep looking for it. And the definition of success is different for different people. I think for me personally, success has been all the learnings that I have gathered, all the people I have met, the experiences that I have got over the last many years, the various brands that I have worked for, my travel into different parts of the world. All these are little successes. And then, of course, you have success in the form of personal success as well, right? And you have your family, you have your dreams, you have your own goals. So I think it's I would say a nice little balance of personal and professional wins and learnings along the way. So that I think is the formula for success for me. But it's not final. You have to keep looking for it every day, every moment of the day. And that's exactly what you should also guide your people to do. One must learn from each other.
Yes.
That in itself is success.
Nicely said.
Thank you.
Talking about future, आपके हिसाब से हमारी इंडस्ट्री का फ्यूचर कैसा है?
The future is bright. Times are exciting. When we started 20 years ago, the future was still very bright. We were fortunate to work with some, great brands. We were fortunate to have mentors and leaders who were really, I would say, they really cared for us. I think in the future as well, if we can carry that ethos, with our people, we can carry that spirit of togetherness. The future definitely looks exciting. From a point of view of business, I think there is immense growth. There's a lot of opportunity in the future. The brands that have not been, let's say, in our part of the world in the past have started to be here. There are some exciting brands within our own portfolio and outside.
Yes.
So I think there is also impetus from, I would say, the government. Tourism is definitely something that we must look at a little bit more closely. We obviously have to look at it from a lens of profitability.
Yes.
But at the same time, we have to see it from a point of view of sustainability as well. So if we can sustain our growth well,
Yes.
I think the future is bright. So yeah.
You are currently, GM here. You have been in the past cluster GM for a couple of properties. To lead a team, right? It's always been very challenging, right? And so what is that you do here to keep your team motivated? I mean, what are your secrets?
I think the secret is it's a writing on the wall, really. If you ask me, people want to be understood, and it's only when they feel understood is when they take control in their hand, right? And that's what you want. You want your people, you want your teams to be empowered. You want them to reach their potential. And this is a daily thing, right? We run operations, and in hotels, we can't really say, okay, the job for the day is done. It's not really done in that sense, right? Because we need a bunch of people to stay motivated, to stay that course. And I think if you are understood well, and if you're treated well, you tend to have, I would say, a good level of job satisfaction. And if that gets done is when we are able to, again, stay the course, sustain the course, be in the game longer. So once you're understood, once you're more in control is when you can reach your potential.
Yes.
It goes with me as a leader, it goes with my people, it goes with leaders within departments. So all the way down to the rank and file associates, if they feel good about themselves and they want to dress up, show up, and get the job done, is when we have, I would say, achieved that day's task, right? And that is due every day. One must celebrate success of people together, and then when we do that, is when we are able to see, a squad or a team that is empowered to deliver results, for the hotel, for the company.
Moving to the next question, ऐसी कोई चीज जो आप इंडस्ट्री से चेंज करना चाहते हैं?
I think change is one constant that will always stay in our life, right? So change is inevitable. We are going through change on a daily basis.
Yes.
So I think in our industry, we definitely can look at a more sustained growth together. Today, we have, I would say, the immediate sort of challenge or obstacle, or for that matter, the area of opportunity is talent management, right? So we obviously can look at finding talent in maybe alternate industries and bringing them back into our industries. So we can look at that. I think one change that we can do is have a stronger sort of skill-based, training program, both within the hotel and maybe have that partnership with colleges and institutes. Yes. that can maybe help us get that talent ready up ahead in time, so that they can be absorbed much better when they actually come into the shop floor, and not really have that wear and tear or the I would say the gap in expectation, right? So I think one change that can happen is early on, where the upskilling can happen, I would say a little bit more well-rounded, and then maybe the talent can be absorbed much easily into hotels. So that's one change that one can look at. Because I'll tell you, when we were studying also, what you read in books is not really that happens on the shop floor, or rather, like they say that what they teach you in college is not how the next year will be, right? Because things are changing so fast in itself, right? So that one change that we could look at is from the upskilling point of view. That can be, collaboratively done, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that can be done.
You mentioned that gap of expectation. That is one of the biggest reason that I started this podcast. You've said so rightly, where if I have to talk about my internship days or my industrial training days, I think मुझे बहुत बड़ा झटका लगा था when I actually started doing. Of course, we were doing this ODCs and stuff while we were at the college. But then once my second day at kitchen, I started my industrial training in the kitchen, and then I actually got a huge shock कि अच्छा ये चीज़ ऐसे होनी है. So मैं कॉलेज में क्या कर रहा हूँ? I think on my personal views is that कि if our industry is so practical oriented, then मैं 2.5 साल कॉलेज में क्या कर रहा हूँ? So technically speaking, I'm doing 6 semesters, out of which 5 semesters I'm at the college, and only 1 semester, which is towards my industrial training, I'm at the hotel. ये तो at least if not half and half हो ही जाना चाहिए. What do you suggest?
No, so no, it's a valid point. I'll tell you, the longer you sort of acclimatize yourself with what goes on the shop floor in real life in hotels, your expectations are more realistic. As a student or as a college-going boy or girl, your expectations are slightly different. I'll tell you, a lot of times people get into this industry for the glamour. Well, yes, there is glamour, so to say, but then it does sort of really, I won't say it beats you up, it doesn't, but then I think the expectations need to be a little bit more realistic, right?
Yes.
But to your point, if the on-job training modules can be tweaked, if the on-job modules can be made a little bit more counseling based, I would say, right? So I think, again, going back to where the talent pool really is, it's the colleges and the institutions. I think a strong counseling program, a strong mentoring program at initial stages of the career can really make a big difference. It can lend longevity to the career. It can definitely set the expectations right. So that can be done. I think that's something that one must do early on. The industrial training part as well, I think today, we do have colleges that do have 2 terms of industrial training. And it does sort of make sense, really, if you ask me. If you can be in a hotel twice during your curriculum, all the more good, right?
Yes.
Because if that is where your heart is, if that is where you want to be, it just makes a lot more sense.
So moving to my next question, describe an ideal hospitality professional.
No, thank you, Vikas, for the question. I would, as much as I would love to find the ideal qualities in a hospitality, professional, I think it just is very relative again, right? However, to answer the question, I think an ideal hospitality person should be somebody who has very high levels of emotional quotient, somebody who understands people well, someone who is able to put their thoughts into words and articulate their ideas well. These are some of the soft aspects of an ideal hospitality person. Other than that, of course, you need hard work and integrity, without which there isn't really, there isn't really a lot of joy at work. I think you need to bring those qualities to work. And then again, someone who can be on both sides of the fence sometimes. Have a telescope in your hand to be able to see something that's far away, and at the same time have a microscope as well in the other hand, so you can look at the details. So yeah, if you are able to juggle and balance these things well, hopefully you will be an ideal hospitality personnel, right?
Wow,
Yeah.
very nicely said, very nicely said. Quite a new perspective, I must say that. आपने बहुत सारी हायरिंग की होंगी और अभी भी कर रहे होंगे. What are the like general or standardized attributes you see in a candidate while selecting them or hiring them? कि अच्छा ये वाले तो होने ही चाहिए.
We look for stability for somebody who we are hiring at mid management or senior management. But otherwise, we definitely want associates at rank and file to come with the right attitude. We definitely want to hire them for specific qualities in them. Integrity is they have to be high on integrity. They definitely should have eye for detail. They should be looking out for quality in their work. They definitely need to be, good team players, so they are able to understand each other really well. Guest centric for sure. You need associates to be able to understand what the guest wants, expects, needs, right? So these are some of the attributes that we definitely look for. Skilling is something that we can do. So I think when we hire for quality. We hire certain qualities, and these are some of the qualities that I've talked about. And specific skills can always be instilled. Yeah.
Attitude. बहुत बात होती है. Having a right attitude. Having a right attitude is हमारी इंडस्ट्री इसके बिना चल ही नहीं सकती. According to you, ये इतना ज़रूरी क्यों है?
Attitude again is relative, but I think I would like to maybe paraphrase it and maybe look at it differently. Is that you need to have a growth mindset in our industry. You should definitely have the outlook that you would like to grow in the industry. You would like to be someone in the industry and carry yourself into different roles, go to different cities, be in different hotels, work with the company, but stay stable, within the organization. And it boils down to that attitude that you're talking about, right? So being able to learn from your mistakes, being able to learn from other people is something that you need to have as the major part of that attitude, right? So in a nutshell, it's the growth mindset. Mm-hmm. If you can bring that to the work and if you can bring that to the job, it does contribute a lot to how successful you can be in this industry.
Next question. What advice would you give to your younger self? Tough one.
It is, yes. I mean, it's a tricky question. The advice would be to be able to maybe fine tune that attitude that somebody who has, let's say, 5 years into the industry, because once in a while we feel that we know it all and we fail to see the other person's perspective sometimes. So I think maybe slow it down a bit, not be too judgmental. At the same time, I mean, not to take no for an answer for sure. But I think in your own mind, it does become difficult, to counsel yourself and, be your own advocate. But I think what one must look at is to be a better version of oneself on an ongoing basis, which we tend to sometimes not prioritize, right? So I think it's important that you sharpen the axe once in a while. Perhaps maybe look for upgrading your education, moving into learning a new skill every now and then, Yeah, definitely pause and reflect so you're able to understand if you are on the right path. Yeah, so things like that. Not easy, but at the same time, in retrospect, those are things that one can do.
Thank you for answering this so honestly. um, थोड़ा सा AI है ना, बहुत बात हो रही है AI में, AI के आने से शायद मैन पावर कम हो जाए, AI के आने से शायद, मतलब बहुत सारे शायद है आई थिंक एज ऑफ नाउ. हाउ वुड यू क्लियर दिस शायद?
I think in our industry, because we are a human to human industry, we are serving people, we are serving guests, we are anticipating needs which may not be very easy for artificial intelligence to do. Mannerisms, how we deal with people, those are things that are only I think only going to be much more needed in the future, because our customer base is slowly shifting. We are now catering to a lot younger guest profiles, right? I think AI can complement that very well. We have tools and mechanics in our business that can help us with analyzing data much faster, and then hopefully putting that analysis to work, ensuring that the guest stay and the guest experience are and are enhanced with help from that technology. But I'm not so sure that it will take away too many of the well-defined core job roles, because that's something that's required, right? For instance, in a kitchen, in the culinary side of the business, you do need somebody with that expertise to be able to dish out good, flavorful, nourishing food for a guest who needs it. May not be very easy for AI to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, so to say.
This is my favorite question of the interview. जब बड़े हो रहे थे सभी से पूछा जाता है कि बड़े होकर क्या बनोगे. तो when people used to ask you कि बड़े होकर क्या बनोगे, so what you used to answer?
So I think I can call myself an accidental hotelier.
Most of us are actually.
Yes, yeah. I think also what happens is that I think it's the profession that chooses you, and it's usually not the other way around. I wanted to be an engineer, so I actually started off studying to be an engineer, but somewhere down the line it did not go through. And gladly I am in a very good space. I am very happy where I am, and people would ask me what I wanted to be. I think I wanted to be an engineer. I didn't really have a definition of what kind of a profession I would be in, but I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now.
So basically no regrets.
Totally.
What does not exist in the world but you would like it to?
What does not exist in the world but I would like it to be? I think we are moving rapidly into a world that cares very less about climate change and environment, pollution. So these are all not very sustainable practices, not just for business, but I think in general for good living conditions, right? For the prosperity for the next generation. So I think maybe a little bit more cognizance around that. The way the industry works today, maybe we can. I mean, definitely a lot of work is happening.
Yes.
But perhaps modules around how we can do this in a better way, and then sort of weave that into our day-to-day life. I think it's happening. Maybe it can happen at a little bit more structured and a little bit more rapid pace.
Yes.
Yeah. That I think maybe it does not exist.
वहाँ पे I think yes, efforts increase करने की definitely ज़रूरत है, and not only as in hospitality level, but as in I think all together for
in
all
general,
the businesses.
Yes. In general, yes.
Yes.
Yes, I think.
ऐसी कोई book or movie which you would like to recommend to hospitality professional?
Yeah, I think a book that I read many years ago was Dare to Dream. That's a book that one can pick. It's an easy read, and it really does talk about our business, and it does make a lot of sense. So yeah, I mean there are many aspects of leadership and business that you can pick up from that book. Yeah, that is one book that one can pick and read.
I think ये मेरा 16th or 17th podcast है. तो whenever I ask this, so I think you are 4th or 5th person who has said this. तो अगर मैं इसको कट करके भी I think podcast में डाल दूँ, so maybe. But moving towards the next question, let's talk about leadership. Again, according to you, what leadership qualities do you consider essential for a successful GM in hospitality?
Successful GM. Again, success is not final. So to be successful, you need to stay the course. You need to obviously do things that are close to your heart. But yes, I think leadership in general, more so in our business, I think we need to be able to inspire and empower our talent, right? We are working with young mindsets.
Yes.
Working with folks who've been in the industry for a while. I think we must inspire and empower them on a daily basis. That's something that we must do without fail. One other thing that we must do is we must communicate by listening. And when I say listening, we need to be able to listen to our teams, our customers, all our other stakeholders. And that should become the focal point, so to say, when we communicate. Listen, right? So that is important. I think leadership is, again, being able to look at details in fine print, right? Be able to find what really matters in the business, find those details and work on those details. 3-4 things. Of course, going back to what I said earlier, a growth mindset is important. So if you can bring that to business on a daily basis and sort of have that in your philosophy, it can really help you in your leadership in the hotel industry.
In our industry, guest expectations are always very high. So, how do you manage financial performances while, meeting the guest expectations?
Yes, I think guest expectations in general are different. Each guest who comes in has different expectations, different needs, different demands, but their bias for quality never is different, right? Every guest is expecting quality service, every guest is expecting quality product. So I think ensuring that we are up there when it comes to quality. Then again, quality is again going back into eye for detail, ensuring that you're looking at quality on a day-to-day basis. Because we have to also manage the operation and the business financially, we need to look at sustainable practices. Something that weaves very well into the overall scheme of things, in our hotels. We must look at upskilling the workforce.
Yes.
Our teams need to upskill themselves, training modules, making sure that they are able to learn best practices.
Yes.
And these are things that can come at a very low cost. So it definitely does help, the overall financial feasibility of the operation as well. These are some of the few things, I think.
Thank you. You have been, in the recent past, you have been worked at the capacity of cluster GM. So, according to you, what are the challenges of managing multiple hotels? Second, how would you make sure that it is happening smoothly and consistently?
Yes. So Vikas, more than being just a cluster leader, I think I've done more in sales in the cluster capacity. I've done that for many years, sales and marketing. I think what really helps us, is data. If we are able to look at numbers well, and if we are able to read the numbers well, and if we are able to analyze them well,
Yes.
it does help us take decisions that sort of help manage multiple priorities at the same time, right? So I think being able to read the numbers and analyze data is something that's important. You have to build trust. Without that, there is only that much you can do. So especially when you have multiple priorities that you need to balance and juggle, I think the building block of that successful operation or leadership is mutual trust. So one has to definitely invest in people and build that trust, over time. Stay in the now, really. You have to make it your business to know things that are happening, right? You've got to always stay up to date. You've got to make it a priority to find out and have that knowledge, which is integral to that operation and that business, right? So you've got to definitely stay invested in that aspect of the business. Find out more about what's going on in the business. Find out more what's happening in the markets. Find out what's happening with the teams. Know what competition is doing. Things like that. So you have to stay in the now.
You've mentioned sales. What skills do you think कि आपको you've had those skills while working in the sales, which actually helped you to become a general manager today?
I think being in sales, I did that for a decade. I think strategy does play a very big role in ensuring that you're able to look at business differently, right? When you strategize along with like-minded people, there are multiple functions in sales that strategize together, right? You have sales, you have marketing, you have the revenue teams, you have the digital aspect of the business, reservations. So 4 or 5, I think, functions come together, and we look at strategy very differently. And when you do that, over the years, it does help you look at business from a lens that you're expected to look at as a GM, right? So that can be done if you have that sort of exposure within that function of sales and marketing. I think stakeholder management, it comes very early in sales and marketing. You're in meetings with important stakeholders, so to say, and obviously you're that one leader in the room that is expected to bring answers and table discussions that are relevant in a boardroom scenario. And I think that comes early in sales and marketing. So it does give you a sense of what really happens when there are important decisions being taken, when critical financial discussions are going on. These, I think, are integral, right? And then, of course, there's business networking, right? Business networking with sales and marketing, you have access to multiple business leaders, you have access to important customers, you have access to bodies that operate MICE and tourism. So I think business networking helps build that equity in the market really early on, and that can really help you propel yourself into that leadership role as a GM.
Nicely said. Staying ahead of trends, how do you stay ahead of market trends?
Thank you, Vikas. So trends, of course, they are changing every day.
Yes.
And I think it's important as a business that we focus on our strengths first, right? We need to know what our strengths are. We focus on our strengths and then we keep improving on those strengths, right? And that is something that we can do, which is in our control. So number one, we definitely have to do that. We must keep improving the quality of our talent and workforce, hire for the right qualities, like I said earlier, and then, go for the upskilling once you have the right bench strength, right? And when it comes to, trends, I think less is more.
Yes.
You got to focus on the best 2 or 3 things that you do as a unit or as a hotel or as a team, and then sort of, make that a habit, make that something that becomes your motto, and ensure that you're focusing on excellence. I think within our teams, within my team and my style is that I like to challenge the team to do well and do better, and I try to do it as often as possible. At times it does get a little bit daunting, but I think if you can challenge the team to do well and do it as often as possible is when you will then beat the trend, so to say, right? So these are some of my mantras of staying ahead of the curve.
Mentorship, I think आज की डेट में it has become more important. So, according to you, how important it is to have mentors in our life?
Very important. I think I was fortunate to have been introduced to mentors really early on in life. I was fortunate to be part of hotel openings, which does give you, I think, the opportunity to interact more with people because you're still setting up units, you're still setting up the hotel, and you tend to build good bonds.
Yes.
Alongside, whether it's seniors or peers, or even for that matter, associates who are probably a little bit junior to you, right? But mentoring, I think, is as important as any other thing in our business, right? I still have folks who are in touch with me over the last 15, 20 years. And I am in touch with, my mentors over the last many years. So it does help because you can pause and reflect. When you have a mentor. You can learn from their experiences,
Yes.
which does help you reinforce your learning. It gives you an edge. And then, what you do with that edge is, of course, it's something that's up to you again. But when you have a sounding board, you can go to somebody with, hey, you know what, I need some help.
Yes.
Can you assist me with this? I have an idea. Can you vet it? What do you think if we did things differently? Do you think it'll work? So I think that dialogue and that discussion can really, I would say, it can foster great relationships.
Yes.
Which is I think a building block for a successful career. But at the same time, it can really help you get clarity in thought, right? So that is important. So mentoring is definitely something that one must look for. So thank you.
Moving towards the next question, new entrants. What top areas should a student and a new entrant focus on to build a successful career?
Thank you, Vikas, for that question. I think like they say, the expert today was at one point in time a beginner or a learner, right? So I think everyone needs to start pretty much where everyone started, right? Our industry that way is very clear. I think you can have a vision for yourself as a new entrant, but without execution, that vision is really just a hallucination, right? You've got to really put in the hours. You've got to stay invested in that career that you want out of yourself, right? And then, of course, find a mentor. Going back to where we were, find a mentor early on, because the mentor will definitely help you be the best version of yourself, right? So that's something that you should do. And then, of course, success is not final.
Yes.
Like they say, the rent is due every day. So no matter how you feel and what's going on, you've got to dress up and show up,
Sure.
right? And so do that as often as you can. Don't let life beat you down, so to say, right? I think last but not the least, travel. The more you travel, the more experience you're going to gain. So try to travel as much as you can, as often as you can. I think India is a vast country. There's a lot to explore. So travel, gain that experience, save a life as you go along, learn from those experiences, and bring those experiences to life when you come back to work, right? Live those experiences. So that's important.
मुझसे जब भी मतलब पूछा गया स्पेसिफिकली इन टर्म्स ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल ट्रेनिंग एंड दैट वाज द ओनली रीज़न व्हेन me being from Punjab, coming from Chandigarh, coming from a humble family, yet I choose traveling all the way to Hyderabad. I think that change was required or mandatory, and at the same time, of course we understand कि long trainees हैं, longer hours करने पड़ते हैं, yet we managed to do it we were always full of energy for some reasons.
Sure.
Maybe it was the environment that we were experiencing new things every day. It could be learning few languages के अच्छा 2-3 वर्ड सीख लिए, देन द नेक्स्ट डे अच्छा शेफ़ बिरयानी बना रहे हैं, अच्छा शेफ़ आप ये बना रहे हैं, अच्छा शेफ़ ये बन रहा है. ऑफ कोर्स अदर होटल्स में भी होता है, बट आई मीन आई कैन नॉट इमेजिन मी डूइंग माई इंडस्ट्रियल ट्रेनिंग in, let's say, for the sake of अमृतसर और जलंधर. I think उसमें मुझे कुछ ज़्यादा वैल्यू ऐड नहीं हो पाती.
Correct.
So you said very correct when you said कि अच्छा travel कर लो, and that is I keep always keep suggesting कि है ना, if you are from Bangalore then travel to other metro city or wherever you want it, but अगर आप बैंगलोर से हो तो बैंगलोर में अपनी इंडस्ट्रियल ट्रेनिंग मत करो, एटलीस्ट मुझे लगता है, but then again, of course.
Yes, no. So I'll sum that up. While ability to grow and work and succeed and to be able to prove yourself is one aspect, right? Ability. But in our industry, I think mobility is as important as that aspect of ability, right? So mobility has to be something that you must experience early on. Try to be in new places as often as you can. It just changes the way you think. It just changes your perspective, right? It gives you a new lens to look at life.
Yes.
Yeah. So being able to travel is magic.
Nicely wrapped up. We understand हमारे इंडस्ट्री में we need to work whenever it is required, knowing क्या दिन है, क्या फेस्टिवल है, knowing कि अच्छा आज 12 घंटे भी काम करना पड़ सकता है, maybe 15 hours sometimes. So how do you keep your balance between your personal and professional life?
Valid question, good question. Actually, so my job description, fortunately, is already defined.
Yes.
I don't have a job description. I do everything, right? Because as a GM, you can't say, oh, this is my job and this is not my job. So first and foremost, I think the word balance may not be the right word. So because I look at it differently. My personal experience tells me that you've got to juggle the priorities more than being able to balance the priorities, because what happens is then you're setting expectations for yourself, saying that I need to do this on a certain day, but then something else comes up which is more important than that priority, and then the priority changes.
Yes.
There is no balance anymore. The balance is pretty much out of the window. So if you're able to juggle the priorities and still do a good job of it, I think then the balance will take care of itself. So find those top 3 or 4 priorities that you have, and then be able to balance, juggle, do either of that with those priorities. So set the priorities right. Once you prioritize is when you are then in control of what you expect from yourself. And when that happens is when you are a lot more in control, right? And that can give you, I think, a sense of balance, like you rightly said, and it can give you a better sense of control, and there is definitely clarity of thought. So that is important.
मैं जब से आपसे मिला हूँ, यू आर वेरी काम, वेरी कंपोज्ड, एज इफ आपको स्ट्रेस होता ही नहीं है. बट क्या जेन्युइनली आपको स्ट्रेस नहीं होता? अगर या होता है तो हाउ डू यू मैनेज?
So yeah, I think stress is not what happens to you, but how you react to it. That is largely where it is. So I think it is important to have reasons to believe that there is definitely life outside work.
Yes.
But then, like I said, for a general manager, we need to be able to find that switch, that on-off switch, which is rare to find, but each leader, each GM has their own switch, right? So it's important to know when to switch off and when to switch back on. And when you can do that, it does take care of large parts of that stress, because you don't know how the next day is going to pan out.
Yes.
It's definitely not in your control. But I think going back to the original discussion that we were having around leadership,
Yes.
if we are able to empower and inspire our people, so then that team is the team that will really help take that stress out of your work. They will then be able to advise you things that can make sense, and it can to some large extent take the pressure off you. So inspire and empower your people. So then they become your ears and eyes on the ground, and you're able to, let's say, have much better control over your own expectations and emotions, right? Because you know that you can depend on your team by building that mutual trust. So having a team that can, let's say, understand what you expect, having a team that knows what your vision is, being able to surround yourself with leaders, A, who are smarter than you, and B, who understand your vision as a leader.
Yes.
It can definitely help, day-to-day operations in a general manager's life. But thank you for the compliment that you said that I was calm and composed. I try as much as possible to stay calm and composed, because I'm not joking, but we are constantly in a pressure cooker situation. So
who doesn't anyways?
Yeah. So yeah, no. I think having a hobby is important. I have a pet, so my pet really helps me unwind. My family is my support system. So all these aspects do really help you perform your day-to-day task as a professional. So your life outside that profession is something that really takes care of the stress. So I like to go out in the sun. I enjoy nature. Like I said, my pet is someone who keeps me sane, because he has this unconditional way of showing his affection, right? So there's always that one part of the day where I'm looking forward to being with him. So there are these little things that I attach to aspects which which take care of that stress, so to say, right? So yeah, I listen to music, which helps me a lot. I like to go for drives. I like to take short breaks once in a while to help me re-energize and sort of rewire myself, and then come back and perform, right?
Of course.
That's the essence. So yeah. Thank you.
This is the second last interview question. What is your favorite interview question and why?
What is my favorite interview question and why? I think in our business and in our profession, we are constantly questioned. Not just interview, but whenever we are in meetings with stakeholders, one always wants to predict the future, or one always wants to look at how things will be in the future. So I think the tricky part is being able to answer the question more than the question itself being
Yes.
a fun question or a favorite question. I think the answer to the question is something that I believe will make a lot of difference to how you approach the question,
Yes.
right? So I think I don't have a favorite question, but like I said, we are questioned on an ongoing basis. We are surrounded with questions, as leaders and GMs, we are surrounded with questions on a daily basis. How is the future looking? How is the market looking? What is the outlook? What does the team think? How is the team? And then we have questions from other stakeholders, around various aspects of the business. So I think questions are many, but finding the right answer is the fun part, right?
ठीक है,
So, yeah.
very cunningly answered. Let's have some rapid fire. So I'll say a word. आप उसको एक या दो वर्ड से ज़्यादा नहीं बोल सकते हैं.
Okay.
I mean, explain नहीं करना है.
Sure.
Hotel.
Dream,
Training.
important.
Team.
Mandatory.
Mobile phone.
Distraction,
Mentor.
critical.
Holiday.
Take one.
Guest.
Atithi Devo Bhava.
Designation.
It's just in the mind.
Work.
Work-life integration.
Weekly off.
Roster.
Done. Thank you so much. आपने टाइम निकाला. Had a really amazing conversation. I must say that. ऐसे नहीं कि मैं सभी को बोलता हूँ, but genuinely जब से ये शुरू किया है पॉडकास्ट, I think I've been a part of some amazing conversations. So once again, thank you so much on behalf of our viewers. Please, जैसे आप आज हैं, stay like this only, and then keep smiling.
Thank you
Thank you so much.
and thank you to the HospeTalk team. Thanks to you, and it has been, I think, a fun interview. Thanks for dropping by, and we look forward to being in touch.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.